Welcome to the 98% podcast, where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with Ryan again, and we're doing a special hot seat episode. So this is hot seat episode number 2. And the purpose of this one is I create 4 questions for Ryan. He creates 4 questions for me, and we just go back and forth, just kind of answering stuff on the spot. So I don't know what questions he picked. He doesn't know what I picked. So it's all going to be quite the surprise. So Ryan, you want me to go first, or what do you think?
Yeah, you go first. Why not?
Okay, cool. Okay. So, question number 1. Okay. How does music influence our emotional responses to film and shape our perceptions of characters and storylines?
Where do I start with this one?
Exactly. Kick it off with a bang. I was ready.
It is. Oh my gosh. I mean, the best way to describe this, I think, without getting insanely philosophical or anything like that, I remember when I first got into filmmaking, we had to do an assignment where we were given footage and we could change the outcome of the entire video with sound. So we would have to do the sound design, music, all of that. And it's amazing how the same sequence can be translated in so many different ways just from music alone, because the psychology of it, like, it's just a subconscious thing, right? Like it like you think of like the greatest film scores in history, like anything by John Williams, anything by Hans Zimmerman, any of those guys. What they do so well is they create a character with the music, and that character is there to inform the audience of how they should feel in that moment. Now, sometimes people are not good at it and they bash people over the head, and you count that as a cheesy score, right? But done correctly, it provokes an emotion that otherwise wouldn't have been there, or would have been so subtle that the audience wouldn't have received it in the same manner.
Yeah. That's great. So I know that for a fact too. So I know that from doing these reels for this podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Depending on the sound I put in the background, like just subtly in the background while people are talking, totally changes the vibe of it. It can make it like sad, or it can make it like happy or emotional, or like it's so crazy. And it's like the smallest sound change. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I did a video recently for a company we might both work at, where I had to change the song at the last minute, and I completely edited it to have a completely different vibe, and we switched the song out, and the video was completely different, and like nobody else knew it but me, and I was
Dude, yeah. It reminds me of 2 of those things where it's like scary movies are only scary because of the music. Have you ever seen those where they like, you'll have a horror movie that's totally terrifying, and then they play some like jolly music over the top and you can't even take it serious?
One of the first shorts I ever did, I did it without any sound, or without any score rather.
Mm-hmm.
And it was creepy in and of itself because of the way I did it. Like, it was more of like a found footage, Blair Witch Project style. It was the first film I ever did. It was on mini DVD, way back when. And it was about these 4 friends hanging out, and one by one they go missing, right? And like it just like the camera cuts or whatever. So like years later, I took the footage and I added a score over the top of it and made it like 20 times scarier, because it was not scary before. It was just kind of like, oh, I found my home footage and these people died, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good answer. I figured that was a good one to start off. So what's your first question for me?
How do you think you do as a father?
Okay. So how do I think I do as a father? I think overall, I think I do really well as a father. However, I know that there's times where I could do better. And it's kind of like the balance of figuring out what's a battle I want to fight and what's one I don't, right? So it's like, Is this a moment where I just kind of concede and let something go just so I feel better, or is this something where I actually need to put my foot down, right? And I think there's some moments where I could probably do a little bit more of that, where it's like, okay, I just need to deal with it, like um, making sure she's getting better nutrition or things like that. It's like the small things, but you know, um, but yeah, overall, I think I do well. I think I we have a good time. We connect well. We'll see what she says when she's older. But but I genuinely care about people in general. So I care about her, and I care about like the things she does and what she's into. And um, yeah, I would say yes. I'd say overall, I think I'm a good father.
I think the fact that you're trying to grow and you pay attention to her needs is something that makes a good father. Like, cause for myself anyway, like
Hmm.
I'm the same way. Like sometimes I feel like I'm a terrible father, but then I remember like, if I can just be a little bit better than my dad was,
Hmm.
I think I'll do a good job. And my dad did a good job for all intents and purposes. I mean,
Hmm.
what parent's perfect, but I also think like today I told my daughter, I was like, "Hey, have I been yelling a lot lately?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm sorry. That's not your fault. That's a me problem, not a you problem. I just want you to know that." Like I try to
Hmm.
let them know that like, "Hey, I'm human too and we all make mistakes." And if you see me trying to grow, hopefully that'll encourage you to try to grow.
Yeah, no, I agree. And see, that's the best you can do, right? If you
Exactly.
mess up, you apologize, right? And I think that's a big thing. And I think the big thing I wanted to do for her was help her, I guess, be there for her more emotionally. Because I think if I look back at my childhood, I was pretty darn good. I think overall, like felt safe, felt good, had a lot of freedom, etc. But the one thing I didn't learn was anything about emotions, like whatsoever. I was dumb when it came to emotions, and I didn't even know it. And then it wasn't until like a few years ago, like 4 years ago, where I was like, wait, there's more than just three emotions. Are you kidding me? And then, dude, it's been a learning journey ever since. And I realized how much, like, if I would have known more about emotions or been in touch with it more, I would have had way better connections and deeper connections with people. Because
Mm,
I started realizing that it's the emotions that built connection. And I realized that a lot of my connections with people were very surface level, right? It was
yeah.
very logic based or like fun. I always had fun, but it was like we didn't ever really go deep, and I didn't even know it. So that's like my biggest thing. So it's like I want to teach her to kind of get that, because like when you connect people on an emotional level, that's actually real connection. And I haven't had that for most of my life. So that's been all a new thing. So I want to instill that because yeah, I didn't get
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you figured that out now instead of like in your 60s or 70s or something like that.
it. Yeah, exactly. After she's already grown up.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
ugh. Cool. All right. What's your second question?
Okay, second question. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this one is also going to be film related.
All right.
So, what movie or series pushed the limits on what's possible in cinema, and what made it so?
Do you want this to be a history lesson or are you talking recent?
Dude, it's up to you. Whichever way you want to go with it. What changed? What just baffled cinema? Like, what was just like, whoa, that is insane.
I mean, I don't want to say this answer because it's so true, but I hate that it's true. But Marvel, they completely. I mean, the reason movies are the way they are now is 100% because of the Marvel effect. Um, what they did with the cinematic universe, it melded television and cinema in a way no one had ever done it before. Like, I mean, you had Star Wars, you had
Hmm.
Pirates of the Caribbean, you had Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings. Like, you had these great trilogy films, but no one had really ever taken different standalone characters, brought them all together, and then made a trilogy out of the ensembles,
Hmm.
or I guess a quadrilogy. I guess you should
Hmm.
say with the Avengers films, but I mean, it's pretty impressive what they did, and I, I don't know what comes next. Because it just kind of like Avengers Endgame came and went, and then everything's not been the same since. And it's kind of like what I was hoping would happen would it, we'd go back to original indies, but nobody wants to go see those in theaters, and that makes me sad because I love going seeing those. Like, but that would probably be the answer. Is Marvel is most recent? They completely, depending on how you feel about it, they changed the game or they ruined cinema. So
Yeah, what's funny is I had a feeling that might be your answer, because you've told me this before.
yeah.
But for all the viewers out there, so Ryan like hasn't really seen all the Marvel movies, and I'm trying to get him to do it. So if you feel obliged to drop in the comments, if me and him should do a review, like a reaction thing on MCU, that would be the best. I've been wanting to do that for so long with you.
So you say that I've seen the first phase, whatever. I saw
Yeah.
Iron Man,
Yeah.
Thor,
Uh-huh.
all the way up to the Avengers, and I just remember every one of my friends who is comic book nerds were like, "Dude, isn't this amazing?" I was like, "Dark Knight Rises was better." It wasn't. At the time, you remember that, like that's when
Yeah.
that came out, So
Yeah. Dude, we need to do it. I'd be so down for that.
I would do
Because
it, but I wouldn't hate. I would not hate every second of it.
yeah,
Because I thought Black Panther was amazing. And then I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and so is my son. So I could get down, I guess.
dude, I'd be so stoked. I'd be so stoked. Okay,
Ugh.
sweet. Okay, so what's your next question?
Okay. Again, going back to I came up with two really good ones and two really random ones, but my other second good one. What is the legacy you want to leave this world?
I want to leave it a better place than where it was. I mean, I think that's the vague answer because I mean, I think that's why I like to do what I do, like training and development. I love training people, I love teaching people, I love coaching people. It doesn't matter if it's at, our current job or if it's music related or if it's just everyday conversations. Like I'm sure there's plenty of people that are probably watching this can attest like, yeah, he just teaches me stuff all the time. And it's really just out of like, I've always had a knack for remembering things and taking in info. And if I can give you some info that's beneficial for you, that's going to help you, then I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, how do I leave, I guess, how do I impact the people around me in a positive way? Um, and just, I guess, be remembered as, I don't know, someone who was a good man, a good father, uh was I guess talented. I don't know. Like it's I guess all the above there is I don't know. And I think the funniest thing about legacy is I got to thinking about this and it was when I first put my music on Spotify. So I put
Oh,
it on Spotify and then I was like, whoa. I mean, even though it's not popular by any means on Spotify, but it's like I just put something out there that's gonna live beyond me if things can sit and it's like, wow, that's weird to think about that like I'll pass on, and if we still have internet and stuff in the future or whatever it might be, it's like I'm still going to have stuff out there. That's wild to think about. And then now it's the podcast too, all these videos, all this stuff. So it's like I'm going to be connecting with people potentially past my life, which is wild.
that is. I think about that, like the impact of like how the internet is forever. And
Uh-huh.
anytime I go and look at my old MySpace,
Dude, you still can log on to your MySpace?
I haven't locked on to it in about 10 years, but before that, it was like another 10 years. Like, I think the last time I logged on, I was 17, something like that. So that was a long time ago.
Dude, MySpace was the bomb. That was like my favorite thing because I'd put like my music on there and
Yeah.
then I'd always put like a music video of some type, like whatever I was into. And I try to make the page look completely legit because it was like building your own like mini web page.
Dude, I learned
Um,
HTML doing that.
you learned what?
HTML.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I learned how to code. I didn't even know it was coding.
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else with MySpace. There was that. Oh, dude, I used to do the weirdest things on MySpace. Now that I think about it too, I had this. Dude, I'm trying to think back. I did this weird thing where I would just take a bunch of weird pictures. So I don't know what it looks like now, but I used to take weird pictures and I used to go by a nickname called Crowbar because I thought it was the funniest thing in my head. And it made zero sense to anybody else out there, but
Yeah,
I would just say it and I'd take pictures and I would change my name and I would just laugh nonstop. And it was probably the stupidest thing. But yeah, that was MySpace.
MySpace was the first place I ever posted videos, and so like back when I used to do skate videos with like a little Canon power shot,
Yeah.
there are tons of videos of me like face planting and on MySpace. But also, my first two music videos I ever did, I put up on MySpace, and then they got copyright infringement and taken down because I did a music video for a 3 Day Grace song. I can't remember which song it was, but it was a 3 Days Grace song. And I remember like I did this really cool effect where I disappeared into the background and like threw my brother into a thing of boxes, and it was like all symbolic, and I was like super proud of it. And like in my room, I was like playing the guitar into
Yes.
the camera, even though I was lip singing. It's so lame, but it got taken down. I'm really bummed it got taken down.
Dude, that makes me think about some other fun stories. So I used to do videos too, me and my buddies. Obviously we didn't know anything, but it was so fun. But I remember one day specifically, I had what is it? There's three of us, and we tried to make this video. We roughly had a storyline to it, and it was just basically an old camcorder, and basically it was about this guy who kills this guy. Um, or no, he tries to kill him, gets killed, and then haunts them essentially as a it's like a Walking Dead person. So what happened is we have this scene where we're on this hilltop and we're playing music, like we're trying to start the thing. We didn't have any audio, so we just cranked up his stereo. We got metal playing, and we're like zooming around the woods, and then we go into the woods, and then I got this trench coat on, and I'm running down the hill and trying to. To shoot someone or something, and it doesn't work. We're using firecrackers and dude, all types of stuff. And my my alive version of me was, or my dead version of me was just black face paint on me. So I was like, that's all we could do. So it looked terrible.
uh,
But but I remember there was also like just stuff that we did terribly too. Like I remember like he jumped off this thing and I was a daredevil, so I just jumped off this like 20-foot porch just onto the ground, like just like like doing the shot or something. But what happened is like I kept not landing on my feet. So my buddy went and did it and landed on his feet, and we forgot that I jumped off, but somehow we do. So we had a cut where it looks like me jumping off the rail and he's landing and taking off. And we're like, oh yeah, forgot we didn't change that part. Like, so it was so bad. It was hilarious though. Since you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that too. Just random videos that we just thought were like, at the time, we're like, this is pretty cool.
oh yeah. Well, it gets problematic too because like I had a YouTube channel, and like I was actually I've been mentoring this kid on how to get into filmmaking, and I was telling him you got to do what I did when I first started, is start a YouTube channel and commit to making a short film every 2 weeks. So always write one, shoot one, and edit one at any given moment, and then just do that for 3 months, and you will be such a better filmmaker. And I did that when I was 20, 21, somewhere around in there. Those
Mhm.
videos are still on YouTube, and I will never tell people where they are or what the name of the YouTube channel is, because the first short we ever made was about these two assassins going in to assassinate this crime lord.
Okay.
I played the crime lord,
Okay.
and I recognize now how problematic this is, but I attempted a Cuban accent.
Okay.
Terribly, awfully, it was just bad. Like the whole thing just like reeks. It's just bad, and I don't show it to anyone because it's just embarrassing, just all of it. Because we were trying to do a play on that. You remember that movie, Losers?
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, the scene where he's like poo poo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were ripping everything in that movie, was ripping that movie off. That's all it was. So it's so bad. And so
Dude,
I like to go back and watch it to remind myself of where I am now. But it is so bad, and I do not show it to people.
could I see it?
No.
Dang it. I thought I was going to be an exception.
No,
I was like, dude, I'd love to see Ryan with a Cuban accent. I'm stoked.
no. Imagine 110 pounds Ryan trying to do it like because the shot. It's so funny. I ride up on a freaking 4-wheeler to this house in the middle of the woods, jump off, and I'm like, bruh, 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 bruh. And then I go up to the top of the house. I say something, and I try to Cuban accent. Is like watching it now. I just laugh at how bad it is. Like
Mhm.
it's almost up there with Mickey Rourke trying to play a Mongolian in like old movies. You know what I mean? Like, just no, that should not be a thing. Such is life.
Dude, that takes me back to just something we said earlier. Hey, we need to see if our MySpace accounts are still active.
Well, I bet you mine is. I bet I could look it up after this call.
Dude, let's do it. I want to see if mine still exists, if I can figure out how to retrieve it, because I would be so curious on what my life was like back in my teenage years.
I know my profile photo used to be. Uh, I put a piece of tape on my head and put a 4 because it's a forehead.
Hey,
That
there you go. That's clever.
was my humor back then.
You are brilliant.
Oh man.
Okay. Here's my third question. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Where do you see the world in 15 years, while reflecting on where we were back in 2010, which was 15 years ago?
I have a grim look at the future.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think one of two out. I like looking back at 2010 and where we are now and where we're going to be in 15 years. Like 2010, um, I feel like things were a lot more peaceful back then, for sure. I mean, we were coming out of the recession, right? The housing crisis and all that, and like, but there was a lot of hope. I feel like, whereas now there's not. And what my fear is that 15 years of now, society will be split in two. You will have the people that give into the matrix, essentially, basically tech billionaires with all these AIs that they're creating. So much job loss that people will be given a choice to go into the AI economy or a traditional economy. And the AI economy, you stay at home, you get all your food delivered to your house, you have like a little like imagine Ready Player One. Like that's the future.
Uh-huh.
That and then there's the other rest of society that doesn't want any part of that and they're just traditional, still using cash, that sort of thing. That's where I see society going. Or at least that's where I hope it goes. I mean, the AI part's happening whether we want it or not. Um, and I think that it's just going to get worse, and it's just going to be AI is going to be used to manipulate us, like those profile tests that we did, right? Like how
Yeah.
scary accurate they are. Like Google has known everything about me and everything I'm going to do for the last 10 years. Like I'm not like that's the thing. It's only going to get worse, and they're going to preemptively. And I foresee them getting it to where like, okay, this individual likes XYZ, we're going to make them like A. And we're going to do it by manipulating them through the algorithm, through this, and this, and it's going to force them to like this. And I think that is where that tech is going, and I don't like it, and I want no part of it, to be honest.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what scares me. Like just looking at how much AI has progressed from 2010 till now, 15 more years. Oh my gosh. Like it's just going to be worse. It's going to be worse. But I do think that there are going to be people who resist it. And
Uh-huh.
I am going to be one of those people. I mean, like, I'm working with AI now because I think AI is a brilliant tool if you use it correctly. But, like, I think it's just going to create hopelessness in a way that it's worse than it is already now.
Yeah. See, I think AI is going to cause a lot of laziness. Like, so I think the skills that we used to do, which I think AI is great, but I think if like if we're not writing books anymore, or if we're not creating music anymore, and we're taking the easy route and just like AI, do this for me, do this for me, just like the more stuff we pass off on it, the less we're gonna learn because we don't realize that like the reason why we know what we know is because we did all the stuff before, right? We did the stuff that got us to where we are now. And if we just let AI do that, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to put our mental power towards.
That's why I think it's going to split society in two, because you're going to have like the Amazons and the Instacarts of the world are going to take over these giant corporations, right? And they're going to create the Matrix. I mean, they're going to use VR to create essentially the Matrix. You never have to leave your home. You can look at TikToks all day long. You don't have to work because you're going to be on universal basic income. And this is your life. If you don't want to do that, here is the insanely hard route, aka the way we've done for hundreds of years. You know,
Uh-huh.
you have your own small business, you do your own taxes, you trade and barter with other businesses and small businesses, and you have nothing to do with mega corporations. And then
Uh-huh.
it's going to create its own corporation economy and small business economy that probably only 25% of society is going to want to be a part of, because everybody else is going to be a part of this big, gross machine, whatever thing. And that's what I see happening. And it's kind of the idea of rural versus big city, you know?
Sounds like we need to make a short film about this.
I feel like there's been some, and I don't like them. They're grim. It's like, no, this could.
True that.
Anyway, all right. You want your
Okay.
third question?
Yes, I'm ready.
If you had to pick a genre of metal to listen to for the rest of your life and nothing else, what would it be?
Okay, so only metal.
Only metal, and it's a subgenre within metal.
Okay, so I would say progressive metal.
Okay. Like, now, be more specific than that, because progressive covers a lot of areas.
It does. That's why I said it.
No,
Okay, so
you have
tell me. Okay, okay, but that is that not a subgenre of metal?
no, because there's prog fusion metal. There's,
Oh.
you know what I mean? Like, what, like, if you had to narrow down to the niche of the niche of the niche, and that's all you could listen to, what would you listen to?
Mm.
Would you like to hear my answer before you give yours?
I would because I don't have. So I know subgenres of metal, but
Yeah,
I don't know anything deeper than progressive metal.
I'm going
Okay.
MySpace crabcore. If I had to listen to one thing forever and I couldn't listen to anything else, that's my era.
Dude, I don't know. I've not studied the genres deep enough to know what's beyond prog. And why I picked prog, progressive metal, is because I was like, oh, that's very vast. Like that
Oh
includes
yeah,
Leprous, who I listen to. That includes like Dream Theater. Not that I listen to a lot of Dream Theater, but that could also that could be Sleep Token.
yeah.
Um,
Could be Tool. It could
it
be
could be exactly, yeah.
It could be a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, so you need deeper than that, huh?
Yeah, like I said, mine is like 2006 to 2012, like that niche metalcore, crabcore era, like that scene.
Yeah, well, I'll have to pick a different genre then because I can't use my phone because it's doing video, so I can't look up, ask different levels of progressive metal. Um, I'd say if I had to get away from that, and what's another genre I like? I mean, I would say new metal.
Whoa, I would not have guessed that.
I know, but new metal was fun, man, because it came out when I was younger. So I'm thinking about like Mudvayne, Slipknot, Mushroom Head, Limp
Yep, that also
Bizkit.
includes the Kid Rock and Limp
Kid
Bizkit.
Rock was Kid Rock considered new metal? He wasn't metal. Kid
Yes,
Rock wasn't considered new metal. No, he wasn't.
bar to the bar, da bang, da bang.
That wasn't new metal.
That
Uh-uh.
was considered new metal, my
No
dude.
way.
Yes,
Dude, hey, do you have your phone on you to look this up?
yes, I do.
Okay, look it up because I'll bet you it's not new metal.
I'm telling you,
Kid Rock, no.
Kid Rock is your granddaddy of new metal.
No way. Well, I won't be listening to Kid Rock.
Well, but it was that one album that is considered that, and that's like right around the time of Limp Bizkit and all that.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
That count.
Okay.
That
That's fine. That's fine. I'll take it.
okay.
But new metal, because dude, I used to get down on Mudvayne all the time. Even though I don't necessarily think they're new metal, but they get looped into that. They're more
Yeah.
progressive in my opinion. But um,
So
yeah, I'd say that's
Corn,
huh?
Lincoln Park, Corn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll go down that route just because that was a fun era. The other one I was going to go to is going to be different. I was going to go the route of like Norwegian black metal or something random, but um,
That's black metal is one that I can't get into because I can't get over like the sound quality. Like it always
well,
sounds like it's in somebody's basement, you know?
well, it depends. See, I don't listen to any of those. I know that's like true Norwegian black metal,
That's what I'm saying. That's like
but
true preaching black
but
metal.
yeah, but like I listen to like Mors Principium Est. I love that band, and I think they're considered that. But at the same time, like they're got good quality sound. Cradle of Filth, I think, is another one
Cradle,
potentially.
yeah, they're more symphonic, wouldn't you say? Like
They might be, they might be.
I think of like the largest one of them I think would be Demi Borger, you know?
Dude, I love Dimmy Borgir.
I can get down with some Demi Borger, you know? Like
Yeah,
I, that's that is the extent of black metal I'll listen to. Like I can't get
yeah,
like what is it, Behemoth and all them that like
yeah,
if you're not in your garage with one microphone, you're not black, you know.
yeah.
It's
That's not my style. Not my
yeah.
style. So yeah, there's that. Or I would have said maybe 2000s, mid 2000s metalcore maybe would have been another route I would have went.
Oh
Like
yeah,
tri-
Shadowfall and yeah.
yeah, Trivium, As I Lay Dying, a lot of those bands, Kill Switch Engage. That was
Oh
my
yeah,
jam too. Okay. So
fall
I threw out
era too.
uh
That would fall into my era too.
yeah, it would.
Crabcore era. Actually,
Crabcore.
I guess technically Killswitch and As LA would predate Crabcore because Crabcore really came around in 2007, 2008.
Yeah. And I'd say my big metal by when I got I think the most into metal was like 2000, right? Like 2000 to 2007 was like that was when I was like all about it. So those are the bands I probably relate with the most, except for new ones I found.
Yeah. The Devil Wears Prada Plagues was the album that got me into metal. Like
Yeah.
that the album that I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I immediately got into the Chariot, which I think I told you about.
Uh-huh.
Those dudes are wild.
Dude, metal's weird though too, man, because think about it, like you came onto the metal scene only a few years after me, and why am I pointing with this? Okay, sorry.
Me all stuff too. I've got my camera here.
Nice, yeah, daughter's bow and arrow. Um, but it's funny, there's only a few years different, but think about
Yeah.
how quick metal changed from just those few years, from like Killswitch Engage and all those bands to like that kind of more, I guess, I don't know, I call it emo metal because I think
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it's
and you got to be
interesting.
careful with that too, because like I would consider like emo metal more of like under oath. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
which
Like,
I could see, are they not the see, and I group those together. Are they not technically together?
well, if you remember back then, there was I remember there always being this war between are you post hardcore, are you screamo, are you emo, are you pop punk, are you know what I mean? Like all of those
Mm-hmm.
got lumped together into emo today, but like back then that was like a big thing. It was like so you listen to screamo bands, right? So like Senses Fail, Under Oath, uh Chiodos, stuff like that post-hardcore
Uh-huh.
emo sound. That was considered screamo if you screamed. If you didn't scream, you were just post-hardcore, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you had like metalcore, which was more like kind of Under Oath, but more Devil Wears Prada, Attack Attack. But then Attack Attack had that like techno synthwave thing going on, but so did Prada and so did Under Oath. Like all of them were kind of like doing similar stuff but different, and we all
Yeah.
fought about who was cooler than who, you know?
Yeah. But even like even that metalcore was different than the metalcore I listened to just in
Oh
a
yeah.
few years. Because it was fascinating because that's how it was when we used to play. Because we would play music, and when we first started, um, was right when those type of bands started coming out. So we were always like the unique one at every concert
Oh
because it
yeah.
was like and it was only a few years before that because I was listening to like Trivium and all these bands like, okay, cool. And I kind of, Avenged Sevenfold, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. That was kind of like my influence. And then I started going out there and performing. And then as we noticed, all the local bands started being more like that, like Under Oath and all this other stuff. And I'm like, whoa, like what happened? What happened? It's so interesting.
Tell you what happened. Breakdowns happened.
That's true.
That's
And yeah,
like
that's fair.
no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you listen to like 2002 Unholy Confessions by A7X, right?
yeah. Yep,
Way more melodic, and you had
yep,
Scream Sing,
yep.
all that. And there what and like the breakdown was like dig 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 dig
Mm-hmm,
and you went right back into the melodic, right?
mm-hmm,
Whereas you go to 2007 Devil Wears Prada Plagues, dun 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 dun
mm-hmm,
dun dun dun, dun and then you're doing highs and lows and stuff like that. And then you go fast forward to 2012 where Gent starts coming in and it's just brutal in your face, like borderline deathcore. You know,
mm-hmm.
deathcore, metalcore were meshing at that time. Or you had like 2008 Bring Me the Horizon. Holy crap. Like you talk about breakdowns, like that was like the extreme, instead of doing open face, you're doing open 1-0, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
doing all that mess. So,
Dude, you're right though. It's funny because I was all about the riffing because the thing is metalcore like around that era before that was like always had like the most melodic, cool riffs, and that's what I was just all about. But then yeah,
well,
breakdowns happened, and I was like, why would you like? I don't understand breakdowns. I don't get it. But then when you watch people in the crowd, you're like, oh, I get breakdowns now
yeah,
because people would go insane. And some of those bands were, oh, I know you went insane. But dude, and funny because some of those bands came like because think about Meshuggah, I think is a great example.
hmm
Like they were gent, but they were like early gent, and I don't think they were very popular until stuff started shifting more to that gent like breakdowny style because then you realize like, oh, their whole genre is basically a math version of that. It's like one big breakdown.
and the shift there. So, because like I remember, right? So, like 2006 to 2007 was the shift from melodic to breakdown.
Uh-huh.
And 2010 to 2011 was the shift from breakdown to gent. And
Uh-huh.
it started with in 2007. That was back when Plagues came out, and what was the other big? Oh yeah, like Job for a Cowboy and stuff like that, right?
Uh-huh.
You had all these bands like actually Job for a Cowboy was 2005. That might be too early. Anyway, like you had all that influence, and like 2007 was the year everybody went like breakdowns, right? But then 2010, Woe Is Me, if you remember that band, they came out with Genesis. And that album was just pure breakdowns. And everybody was like, oh, we got to sound like, then everybody started sounding like that. And I remember, because I was a vocalist for a band, and like Onward to Olympus got signed in the town I grew up in. And everybody wanted to be Onward to Olympus because they were breakdown heavy, and that was like the thing, right? You got to pretend you're a Christian band so that you can get signed to Face Down Records, and then you can shoot off over to Metal Blade or Epitaph or whoever, like that was the
Uh-huh.
thing you did. Like, we're a Christian band, and then after an album with Face Down, you go, no, we're not anymore. We dropped that, so you can get your whatever, all that dumb stuff. And I was in a band. I was like, nah, I want to do like this was like pre Abandon All Ships doing their crap, but I was like, let's do like dub with 8-string guitars. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And then we went nowhere because everybody's like, no, we want to get signed. So we're going to do. All right, I don't want to do this,
Yeah, that's dumb.
Anytime somebody was like, we need to sound like this, I'm like, no, why? We got to be different. Like, why do you want to sound like this other band? That's so dumb.
Exactly.
Uh,
Okay. Are we on my last one now?
Yep, we're on your fourth question.
Okay, cool. This one's a fun one because the other ones were serious. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you believe a zombie apocalypse is possible? And if so, how would you survive?
If it's possible, it's like The Last of Us. So fungus, the climate changes to where fungus can live inside humans. That's how I see a zombie apocalypse, or a version of 28 Days Later where it's rabies offshoot, something like that. Somebody does a what do they call it? I can't think of the term. What is it whenever you're messing with viruses to gain of function research? Somebody doing gain of function research accidentally creates a zombie bioweapon, and then it goes rampant across the world. How do I think I would survive? I don't think I would, because I would sacrifice myself in a heartbeat for my kids. Like, that's how that would go down. It'd be like, oh no, I got to get you into the building to save your life. All right, woof, and I got bit. You know,
Dude, that's the most green energy thing I've ever heard, Ryan.
how so?
If anybody, nobody knows what we're talking about, but dude, because that's how that is. That's like the caring, empathetic type. Like I'll sacrifice for you. Like that's what that is. Because for me, like if I answer that, I'd be like, oh, I would grab my kids and I'd find a way to get to safety. Like I wouldn't. The first thing I wouldn't think about was sacrifice myself for my kids. I'd be like,
Don't get me wrong. I'm going to take care of them for as much as possible. But did you ever see the movie The Road with Viggo Mortensen?
I did.
Oh my gosh, the ending. Yeah, that'd be me. Like, take my kid so he can keep living. I'll die. Like that would be like, I would come to a point where it would be that, or we're trying to get food. Somebody pulls a gun, points at my kid. I jump in front of the bullet, shoot them, and then go, all right, kids, good luck. Like that's, I'm going to try to keep them safe, but it's the apocalypse. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to try to keep them alive. That's my goal. I don't care about me at that point. You know,
Yeah. Okay. So I have another question now. So The Road or Book of Eli?
Book of Eli.
Okay. Why?
I loved the Book of Eli. I remember when it came out, like, this is back when I was still very much a Christian. And so I had a very much an affinity for that movie, because it's like the whole idea of like, sorry to anybody watching this, spoiler alert, but he's blind the whole time, right? And he's like memorized the Bible because he's been reading it in Braille. And like the whole idea of that, I just remember that reveal at the end. I was just like, what the, yo,
Yes.
see that coming. You know what I mean? And it made, and then you go back and you watch it and you're like, oh, that's why he did that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was such a good twist for the time. I remember I saw it opening night, and the audience was hilarious because everybody was just like, this was a Christian film? And then the other half was like, he was blind? Like, how? That didn't make any sense. But it's based on a comic, right? So I don't know. And it's a lot more fun than the Road is just depressing. It doesn't stop being depressing. It's just dark, cold, and depressing, which is how the apocalypse is going to be. I like to imagine it would be more ethereal than just depraved darkness.
Dude. Yeah, I asked that question because both those movies came out roughly around the same time and were kind of similar. And I just remember some people just really liking The Road. And I remember watching it after Book of Eli and was like, meh, it's okay.
Yeah.
uh,
The last question.
okay.
Similar to the metal question, if you had to pick one type of food that you had to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Dude, did you know I've had this question asked to me before?
Really?
And do you know who asked it?
Nick?
Yes. Yep. That was his question at the end of his podcast episode for the next
I didn't
guest.
get all the way to the end of that one. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, so I'll give you the same answer I guess I gave him. Um, I would say steak.
Oh,
Simple enough because the thing is because I think you could survive off steak
oh yeah.
alone. It's, you get lots of protein. I just think it'd be great. And I don't think it'd get old because there's plenty of cuts of steak,
Yep.
unless I had to be specific on a certain cut. Um, but yeah, I'd be down for that. Because the other one I thought it was like crab legs. I love crab legs, but I don't think that that would be something I could sustain every day with. So I was trying to be logical about that. So
Well, and
steak,
also with
yes.
steak, you pretty much got whole carte blanche to the whole cow, right? Like
Hmm.
brisket, you got ribs. Yeah, like there's so much nutrient density in that whole animal. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't even think you would need anything else like that. You could subsist off that completely.
I think so. Either that or eggs, I guess could be another one.
Well, and like, see, but then that raises the question, like, you have to pick one meal, like, gun to your head, because if it's eggs, like, cool, chicken's about to die. Does that mean I get to eat the chicken now?
I mean, I don't, I don't really see why that's a thing.
You know?
I was just saying eggs. I don't feel like I need to eat the chicken if I eat the eggs,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
uh,
This is the kind of stuff I think about. Like, this question makes
yeah,
no sense because, like, where's
yeah,
it coming from?
that's true. That's true. I guess because I didn't think about where the eggs came from.
Steak makes
Okay,
more sense because it's the whole cow.
well
So,
there you go. That's my answer.
there we go.
Okay, sweet. Okay, what did you think, Ryan?
I honestly, I was like, man, I don't know how to do questions for this because, like, I don't know. I don't know if you figured this out about me or yet. I'm a very much a heart to heart person, so I always
Hmm.
go deep when I shouldn't. So I'm always like, maybe I should ask some superficial questions. So I see that
Yeah,
mixed it up. Too superficial, but it's still figuring out who you are as a person.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I've tried to pick things um, that I felt like you'd be into, right? And I was like, you're into music, you're into film. I was originally going to do something actually around fatherhood, which is funny that you asked me that.
Yeah,
Um, and then a society. I know we can get on topics of that. So like, I just remember some of those. So I was like, let's go down that path. And then yeah, I had to throw in a fun one because I was like, we have fun just chatting about random stuff. So let's throw a zombie apocalypse in there.
I love, dude. So on similar topic, did you go see Sinners?
No, but I heard it's really good.
It's so good.
Is is it really good?
Oh my god,
Okay.
so good. And
Okay.
because they shot it 65 or Ultra Panavision, which is Ultra 65. So
Hmm.
instead of your typical 241 of something like this right here, this
Hmm.
anamorphic that I have, you're going to be getting a 276 wide aspect, but it's 65 millimeters, so it's like extra depth and then they
Mm.
also shot IMAX with it, and it's just cinematography is gorgeous. Best take on vampires I've seen in a long time.
Oh snap! I think you ruined it for me because I didn't know what it's about.
It's okay. If you watch the trailer, you would have known. Now that does
I
actually kind of
I didn't.
my sister. My sister went into the movie not knowing that about it and was just like, "Oh, this is fun," So
Okay,
sorry. I
that's
thought
okay.
they ruined it in the trailers. So
I didn't even watch a trailer for it. I guess I saw a glimpse from it. I just didn't even know what I was even looking at. Like, oh, okay,
it was a good
okay.
film.
Well, I think it might still be at the theaters, so
It you
maybe
should
I'll watch it.
you
Okay, I might
should
do that. Okay,
don't take your daughter.
deal. Well, I wasn't planning on it. Sweet. Okay. So, anything else, Ryan?
Not that I can think of, bud.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you for being a guest again on the podcast.
Absolutely
And you were the second person to be on the hot seat, so that was fun. So,
nice.
yeah. So, whenever I think of more stuff, maybe I'll have you on again. We'll do
Okay,
something different. Cool.
maybe we can do it. I'm trying. I'm hoping this summer. I'm gonna try in August to shoot my first feature film, but we'll have to talk about it after that.
Sweet. Okay,
Yeah.
dude. Anything I can do to help, let me know because I would totally help you
It's gonna
in any
be
way.
it's gonna be a trip because I think I've told you about the concept. It's we won't talk about it on here, but yeah,
Yeah, we can talk about it off. Yeah, you don't need to give away your secrets.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, well, Ryan, it was nice having you on, and I'll see you later.
All right, man. Later.